All right, so Robinhood, right? They're famous for bringing stock trading to everyone. But now, they're tackling one of the most exclusive parts of the financial world, venture capital. Today, we're going to break down their super ambitious new fund, which is supposed to let literally anyone get a piece of the world's hottest private companies.
I mean, just think about it for a second. What if you could have owned a piece of a company like Stripe or Databricks way before they ever went public? That's the core idea here. It's an amazing pitch, right? Getting in on the ground floor of what could be the next huge tech giant. That's a privilege that, until now, has pretty much been just for the super rich. So the big question is, how does this incredible promise actually hold up?
So the big idea, the mission behind all this was huge. We're talking about literally breaking down the walls around private market investing. You know, that super exclusive club. The goal was to give regular people like you and me a seat at the table.
And listen to this, Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev didn't just frame this as a new product. He basically called it a mission to fix a fundamental unfairness in the whole financial system. The vision was powerful, you know? The idea that your portfolio could finally hold the same kinds of high-growth private companies that you'd find in a top-tier Silicon Valley venture fund. So you might be asking, why now? What's the big rush? Well, the whole market has totally shifted. If you look back to the year 2000, there were about 7,000 public companies in the US. Fast forward to today, we're down to around 4,000. Meanwhile, the value locked up in private companies has just exploded. We're talking over $10 trillion. Companies are staying private way longer, which means most of that insane growth happens before they ever hit the stock market. And this fund, well, this was Robinhood's answer. Their way to unlock a piece of that massive hidden value for everyone.
Okay, so with a revolutionary idea like this, how did Robinhood actually pitch it to potential investors? Let's get into the big promise. Well, thanks to a marketing email that got leaked, we have a really clear picture of the pitch. And honestly, it was incredibly simple and very, very appealing. The deal was, you get access to these pre-IPO giants, but you don't have to be a millionaire. You can sell your shares any day you want on the stock market. And the costs? They were pitched as low fees with no carry, which is that big slice of the profits that fund managers usually take for themselves. I mean, on paper, it really looked like the perfect deal. But then came the official SEC filings. You know, the legal documents that are required to tell the whole story. And this is where the picture starts to get, let's say, a little more complicated. Let's start with the marketing hype versus the reality. The email promised access to best-in-class companies. Sounds great, right? But the official filing, well, it clarifies that best-in-class is just the advisor's opinion. It's not a statement of fact. And that is a huge difference between a sales pitch and a legally binding disclosure. Okay, next up, the portfolio itself. The pitch talked about an existing portfolio that included Stripe. I mean, that's a massive name to drop. But when you dig into the fine print, you find something really interesting. The deal to actually buy those Stripe shares, it hadn't even closed yet. It was more of a future plan than a done deal. And we see the exact same pattern when we look at the costs. The marketing pitch promised low fees. Simple enough. The official filing, though, it completely walks back that claim. It says that deciding whether the fees are low is, and I'm quoting here, a determination for the investor. Basically, the regulators are making them say, hey, you decide for yourself. So after all that hype and after all that fine print, the fund finally goes public. The moment of truth. The IPO price is set at $25 a share. But by the time the closing bell rang on its very first day of trading, the price had already sunk to just $21. So yeah, the tough reality here, an immediate 16% loss for anyone who bought in at the IPO. Not exactly the explosive start that anyone was hoping for. So what happened? Why the cold shoulder from the market? Well, a huge factor seems to be that investor expectations were just sky high. Other similar funds that hold today's biggest, most sought-after names, we're talking SpaceX, OpenAI, their stock prices had been soaring. And by comparison, Robinhood's portfolio, while it's definitely strong, was missing those huge blockbuster AI and space companies that are just dominating all the headlines right now. All right, so if it doesn't have SpaceX or OpenAI, what is actually inside this fund? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the portfolio. So the portfolio is built around what Robinhood calls its frontier companies. Let's see exactly who made the cut. And the lineup is pretty impressive, filled with some major tech players. You've got Databricks, which is a giant in enterprise AI. You've got Stripe, a total pillar of online payments. Then there's a whole bunch of fast-growing fintech companies like Ramp and Revolut. You also have the health tech wearable company, Oura, and then a really interesting one, a high-risk, high-reward bet on supersonic jets with Boom Aerospace. So it's a very concentrated bet on what they believe is the future of tech and finance.
Okay, so what does all this mean for you as a potential investor? What's the bottom line? Let's boil it all down to the key takeaways and, importantly, the risks.
First thing you absolutely have to understand is the structure. This thing is a closed-end fund, or a CEF. Now, unlike a regular mutual fund where the manager can just create new shares whenever people want to buy in, a CEF has a fixed number of shares, and those shares trade on the stock market, just like shares of Apple or Tesla. This structure is actually what allows them to hold these private company stocks that are hard to sell.
And that very structure creates some pretty unique risks. Because the shares trade freely on the market, their price can actually fall way below the real value of the companies inside the fund. And think about it, valuing these private companies is already kind of tricky. Part art, part science. On top of that, you've got a new manager running the show. It's a highly concentrated portfolio with only a few companies, and they have the ability to use leverage, which is just borrowed money, and that can magnify gains, but it can also magnify losses in a big way.
And really, all of this brings us back to that one central question. Robinhood has definitely opened a door that was locked shut for most of us. The question is getting access to this exclusive club of private companies worth taking on all these new and different kinds of risks? For any investor looking at this, that's really the ultimate question you have to answer for yourself.